My name is Samantha Juster, and I'm the Public Engagement Officer at the United States Embassy in Canberra. As a passionate advocate for international education exchange, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to kick off today's event. My exchange experiences, including on the Fulbright program in Taiwan, were life-changing. Education USA is an integral part of the United States Department of State network. Here in Australia, Education USA delivers a free service to support anyone aspiring to do their undergraduate or postgraduate studies in the United States. Our 3 offices in Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney all have experienced staff who are ready to help you navigate the college process, so please don't hesitate to reach out to ask for assistance. As demonstrated by its phenomenal Olympics showing, while Australia is a huge sporting country, it's therefore not surprising that so many Australians are interested in choosing an American college or university to become student athletes. This student athlete experience is also shared by many of this year's Australian Olympic participants. To develop, train, and compete in a sport while also gaining a top-notch degree is an almost uniquely American experience. Today, we will learn more about the student athlete pathway. We are delighted to have a panel of specialists from the National Junior College Athletic Association, the NJCAA. In today's session, the team from the NJCAA will talk about their available opportunities, explain the process for how to be recruited for an NJCAA school, explain NJCAA eligibility requirements, and talk about next steps following graduation from an NJCAA school. Enjoy the session, ask questions, and now let me hand things over to today's moderator from Education USA Australia, Samantha Jackson.
Thanks so much. Thanks for everyone joining us today. We have some great panelists that are going to talk to you all things about college sports at the National Junior College Athletic Association. So most of you will know that they're 2-year colleges. My name is Samantha Jackson. I am located at the US Consulate in Melbourne, and I will be moderating today's session. A couple of housekeeping items before we move forward. This session will be recorded and it will be uploaded soon to our Education USA Australia YouTube channel. Today's session may run a little past the hour, as the end of the session will address the Q&As that we will have coming through. We ask that you put the Q&As at the bottom of the Zoom in the Q&A feature, which would be great. I would also be happy to unmute you later today during the Q&A, and you can ask your question live, and you can raise your hand to do that. Before we kick off today's session, let me introduce you to today's panelists and also what we'll be covering today. From the NJCAA, we are so lucky to have Mr. Brian Luckett with us, who is the Vice President of External Affairs and Development. And he's going to provide a great NJCAA overview. We're also going to have Mr. Brian Beck, and he's the Vice President for Compliance and Eligibility also at the NJCAA, and he'll talk about the compliance and the eligibility steps. And then we're thrilled to also talk about the campus life experiences. So we're going to have Christian Schuth, who is the Director of Athletics from Genesee Community College in New York. And we'll also be having an Australian joining us talking about his experience towards the end of the session, Freddie Myers, and he's from Albury-Wodonga. He's at the Taylor Junior College in Texas, and he's on their soccer team. So without further ado, let me kick it off to Mr. Brian Luckett. Thank you so much. While he comes to screen, we're just going to also run some quick polls, because one of the things we'd like to learn today is who is joining us in our audiences. So if people can look at the polls on their screens and answer those questions, that would be super. There's 3 questions on the screen. If you could move through, that would be great. We know that some people have also registered today and may have a parent sitting beside them that hasn't registered. So we just want a sense of how many people are also joining you at today's session. And selfishly, we're also curious about what sports. If you do happen to be recruited, you know, what sport are you hoping to be recruited for as well? So I think what that does is that really helps the panel tailor some of their conversations. It looks like A lot of people are finishing answering. Fantastic. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. Got a good cross-section of sports as well. Thank you for everyone doing that today. And over to you, Mr. Brian Luckett.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. And it's a pleasure to be with you all here this evening here in the Eastern time zone in the United States and morning there in Australia. But it's a pleasure to have you all here to learn about the NJCAA and the opportunities available. We'll go ahead and get started here with the next slide and just really an overview for everybody about the NJCAA. So first, the NJCAA was founded in 1938 and is the national governing body for all two-year college athletics. So today, most of our membership, the vast majority of our membership, are community colleges here in the United States. Over our history, there's been a lot of private two-year junior colleges. A lot of those have become private four-year institutions. There are still some that we have within our membership and across the country that are private two-year colleges, but most of ours are community colleges that you find throughout the country. We're currently the second largest national intercollegiate athletic association in the United States, only behind the NCAA. So a lot of people are familiar with the NCAA. They're the governing body for four-year institutions, in addition to the NAIA, a different group that also is a national association for 4 years. We are the only national association when it comes to two-year colleges. Just like the NCAA, we're set up to be the governing body, but for two-year colleges across the country. And there you can actually see a photo of our regions. So in the four-year level, you have a lot of conferences, and you have to be voted into a conference when you're on the four-year level. In the NJCAA, our colleges are automatically in a region based on their geography. We have 24 of them across the country, as you can see from that map. Our national headquarters are located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm actually coming to you from Pittsburgh on a business trip. But as a national association, there's so many different opportunities that are available. And as you can see, we have over 500 member colleges, currently at 515 member colleges, about 60,000 student athletes. We'll actually find that we serve more than that now today. 28 different sports that we offer in our 24 regions and 52 championships. Now, the reason that we have more championships in sports is because, similar to the NCAA, we have three different divisions: Division I, Division II, and Division III. And Mr. Brian Beck with our office will talk about those differences later on, but they're very similar to the NCAA when you look at those differences. So really, a lot of those opportunities that you see at the four-year level are available at the two-year level. Next slide, please. So the mission of the NJCAA is to provide a national program of athletic participation in an environment that supports equitable opportunities consistent with educational objectives of our member colleges. So what you find, just as Samantha was talking about at the beginning when we got started here, is that the United States, we have that unique opportunity that you can earn an education while also playing collegiate athletics. In the NJCAA, our motto is opportunities start here. And we'll talk about some of the examples that come through our membership. But again, being founded in 1938, there are millions of student athletes that have come through the NJCAA from so many different backgrounds. So our mission at the NJCAA is to make sure that anybody from any background has an opportunity to compete in college athletics and also have the opportunity to either start their education, go into a trade, earn a certification, whatever it may be. But those opportunities are here for them. As I was mentioned, founded in 1938, we have some long-standing championships that are really historic. Some of our national championships, as you see there with men's basketball, which is now Division I men's basketball, starting in Hutchinson, Kansas in 1949. The Division I Baseball World Series in Grand Junction started in 1959. Some of the longest standing collegiate events in the United States in one location. We're very proud of that history. Other history we're proud of is that out of all the national collegiate associations in the United States, the NJCAA was the first to form a women's division back in 1975. So before the NCAA or the NAIA did, the NJCAA did. We're very proud of that history of integrating women's athletics and providing opportunities for both male and female student athletes. Some of our recent success was founding the NJCAA Foundation, philanthropic arm to be able to support the mission of the NJCAA in 2018. Then also we've recently been able to elevate the messaging and branding of the NJCAA through national television opportunities. So we signed an agreement with CBS Sports Network to nationally televise here in the United States our football and Division I and men's and women's basketball national championship games. So we're very proud of the opportunities of visibility, even here in the United States, for people to know the two-year college option and our student athletes that come through the NJCAA. Next slide, please. So talked a little bit earlier about no matter where you come from, opportunities start here. We have some pretty prominent student athletes that have also come through the NJCAA system. That was just on that slide there. So you're looking at Bryce Harper, who was a #1 MLB draft pick. He actually went to the College of Southern Nevada, drafted #1 overall in the MLB draft, and he's one of the top performing MLB stars today. You have Cam Newton, Alvin Kamara, who's with the Saints still currently. Cam Newton, obviously, though, being a pretty prominent football player in his time in the NFL, came through the NJCAA. Then you have Jimmy Butler, currently playing for the Miami Heat. He went to Tyler Junior College and started playing basketball there before he went to Marquette. And then you have Cheryl Swoops, also regarded to as Lady Jordan. She went to South Plains College in Texas. She actually went to a 4-year college in Texas. Didn't like her experience. She didn't feel that it was really going to be right for her. So she transferred to South Plains. It was actually her local community college. Very successful with them, NJCAA All-American. Then she went to Texas Tech, won a couple of national titles, and dominated the WNBA the way that she did. And there's also others listed here. When you look at baseball, a lot of big names there, and Albert Pujols, Jim Thome, Andy Pettit, all coming through the NJCAA. And then we have some other sports, even in terms of on the next slide, you'll see a lot of track and field. There are a lot of people that compete in the Olympics that started with the NJCAA and got their first opportunity. A lot of them too, you'll see that were international, came to the United States. Bubba Watson started with the NJCAA when it came to golf. And then we have a lot of talent that comes through that plays softball. And in the United States, you see a lot of SEC softball, and a lot of those prominent student athletes started in the NJCAA. So we're very proud of our alumni, but even though we're showing a lot of these very high caliber, very competitive professional athletes, there are still hundreds of thousands of student athletes that we serve each and every day that, but for athletics, would maybe have an opportunity to start their education. And we're going to go through some of those details of why the 2-year college system has so many advantages to it and the differences that you may find compared to a 4-year. We'll start with the next slide. Before we get there, I did forget about this. Our championships, talked about Grand Junction, Colorado. As you can see there, a very premier venue, including D1 men's basketball in Hutchinson, Kansas. And then, as we said, and you can see a little bit there about just the championships and the excitement that we have when our student athletes win a national championship. They compete, they beat out everybody in the United States to be a national champion on the 2-year college level. And we are able, luckily, to stream a lot of those on our NJCAA network as well. And we find a very large international presence, people that tune in to watch our national championships that are streamed on the NJCAA network. Next slide. All right, so here to talk a little bit about the NJCAA and what we see in our colleges. So again, as we mentioned before, most of our diversity, not just in terms of racial diversity, but also socioeconomic diversity, and those that are going to either earn a degree and then transfer, or those that are looking for a trade certification. But of all of the undergraduate students in the United States, that even includes undergraduates at 4-year institutions, community colleges make up 41% of all of the undergraduates in the United States. 39% of them are first-time freshmen. And you can see here the large minority population that 2-year colleges serve. So again, it's a large population that community colleges take up when it comes to the higher education system in the United States. And a lot of them are looking for that opportunity, no matter where they're coming from, and where they're trying to go. Next slide, please. Yeah. And then again, talking about some of these numbers of what makes up the two-year college student demographics. 33% are what you can term as first generation to attend college. 60%. Now, when we talk about the real difference between 4 and 2 year, this is something that we bring up is 60% of two-year college students graduate with little to no debt. So those graduates are leaving in a much different financial situation than if you're going to a 4-year school. 2-year college in the United States is less than half of the cost as a 4-year institution. So what we see, even for those students here in the United States that are here, that they're going to a 2-year college, competing in college athletics, and then they have the opportunity to transfer to a 4-year institution still. Many of our student athletes are recruited by NCAA or NAIA institutions. So there's still that opportunity that you can do 1 or 2 years at an NJCAA institution and then still be able to transfer and still play collegiate. 37% of our students are from households earning $20,000 or less. Again, talking about that ability to access a college education, to get started in your college education, and then be able to transfer to a 4-year institution or enter the workforce after that. We even have some of our student athletes that then, depending on the sport, enter the professional ranks of their sport after 1 or 2 years at an NJCAA institution. 49% of our students are a 4-year degree that attended a 2-year college. So again, when you look at the community college system overall, you see a lot of those students, almost half, go to a 2-year college and then go to a 4-year college. And that's why it's so significant. Those trends have been increasing in the United States. More and more students are going to a 2-year college and then transferring to finish their education. Why? Again, many reasons of being close to home, smaller class sizes, may not be ready for that 4-year jump yet. And again, less than half the cost when you're talking about higher education and paying for that degree. And again, 9% of all community college students are non-US citizens. The numbers continuing to grow, and we actually see it in the NJCAA that a lot of our student athletes, we have more and more that are coming and are international and joining the NJCAA and our member colleges. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about the cost, and here are some of those numbers too to share with you guys. Continuing costs going up when it comes to higher education. That happens across all levels. You see it a little bit less when it comes to the 2-year level in comparison to the 4-year level. So NJCAA member colleges are an affordable option for student athletes to continue or even get started on their academic or athletic careers. Average annual tuition and fees. Now this is in terms of looking at in the United States. It depends on the state and it depends on the college when it comes to what they do for international students. But in terms of looking at on average, community colleges, $3,730 when it comes to tuition. 4-year colleges, public and state, again, you can see less than half the cost when it comes to talking about tuition. And then in terms of the percentage of the students that are applying when it comes to community colleges, 73% are receiving any kind of aid, and then 62% for federal aid. Next slide, please. And I do believe actually that is the end of mine. Before I toss it over here to Brian Beck, I think that's the next slide here. I do want to share, I'll drop it in here to the chat for everybody. We actually do have a new system that's going to be unveiling here, but you all will actually be the first to see it as a new offering from the NJCAA. But we will be sharing, it is basically a member college directory that you can access through our site. I'm going to put it in the chat for all of you guys to access, but actually what you can do is through the NJCAA website, you'll be able to search by state, you can search by sport, but you can basically search our member directory to find different colleges in our membership that may be of interest to you. So that way, if you're looking at, hey, I really want to focus on this sport and I want to see all the colleges that offer it, you'd be able to do it. If you wanted to, hey, I wanted to focus on looking at Texas or Arizona or New York, where Kristen is at, that you'll hear from later. You could be able to search this member college directory to start your journey of looking for the two-year college, the NJCAA college that's right for you. I'll drop that into the chat for everybody, and I'll stay on here too to answer questions that may come up. But at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Brian Beck with our office. He serves as the Vice President for Compliance and Eligibility, and he'll offer some more information when it comes to what does being a student athlete and the different opportunities from compliance and eligibility look like in the NJCAA. So, Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Luckett. I appreciate the introduction as well as the background information that you've provided on our great association, the NJCAA. Good morning, everyone. It's a little different for me as the time changed and had to do a little bit of research, but good morning to you all. We are going into the evening hours here, and you know, it's just a little bit weird speaking with you, but we're very honored today to have you. A little bit about me as we get started. I have been with the NJCAA in some capacity since 1994. So I am the old man of the group. I moved to the national office in 2008. I started out as the Director of Compliance and Eligibility, and worked my way up to today with the Vice President of Compliance and Eligibility. Part of my responsibilities as the Vice President for Compliance and Eligibility is to oversee the eligibility and letter of intent processes for our 500+ member institutions, and all of the related compliance issues that we have as well. I oversee a staff of 5 people that work with the daily operations of each of the member institutions, and it's very rewarding to work with such great student athletes, as Mr. Luckett pointed out. I started out in this profession in 1994 as a coach, and had that opportunity of coaching multiple sports over many years, and you know, look forward to watching our student athletes succeed both on the court and on the field. And when I see those successes and get an opportunity to speak with groups such as yourself, it only makes me even more proud to have done my professional career in the National Junior College Athletic Association. Next slide, please. Within our association, we have 28 sports across 3 divisions, as Mr. Luckett mentioned. We are similar to the NCAA in that we have Divisions 1, Division 2, and Division 3, as well as some non-divisional sports. As you'll see on your screen, we have women's sport offerings of basketball, beach volleyball, which is a fairly new sports endeavor for us, first taking off in the spring of 2018. We have indoor bowling, cross country, golf, half marathon, lacrosse, soccer, softball, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, and court volleyball. Those are our traditional sports, which have been on the docket for a very long time for the women's gender. In men's sport offerings, we have baseball, basketball, bowling, cross country, football, golf, half marathon, lacrosse, soccer, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, and wrestling. With all of those sport offerings, I'm sure that everybody in the audience tonight can find something that they excel in, and possibly even multiple sports. One good thing about the NJCAA, or the 2-year college model, is that we do have some multi-sport athletes. Female athletes are predominant number of our multi-sport athletes are females. It's very common, or is common, to have student athletes participate in court volleyball as well as softball, as those competition seasons are opposite each other. So we do have multi-sport athletes. That's very much unheard of at other levels of intercollegiate athletics, but we do have that opportunity within our association. Next slide, please. In addition to the multitude of sports offerings that I just listed, we've had 5 emerging sports come on the scenes within the last year. Those, in addition to the beach volleyball, which I spoke about, we have competitive cheer, we have clay target shooting, men's volleyball, women's wrestling, and most recently, women's flag football. These are emerging sports, as I mentioned, and what emerging sports are is they're just getting going within our association. We are very excited to be able to have offered these 5 new sports, 6 sports if you go back to April of 2018 with beach volleyball for the women. But this is the first edition of a sports offering since the 2003-2004 academic year. With the global pandemic, we've seen many instances where organizations, companies have been tightening up their operations and possibly reducing their offerings, where we, on the other hand, are enhancing them and advancing the sport offerings to our student athletes and to our member institutions. Next slide, please. So you're asking, how can I play in the NJCAA? You're starting the process, you're well into the process. The first thing I would say is talk to people that you know have possibly come to the States to participate. You're going to get an opportunity here in a little bit is to speak with a current student athlete. He's at one of our schools in Region 14 down in East Texas, and ask him questions. There's no better way to gather information than to speak with someone who has actually done or is doing what you hope to do. But as a student athlete in the NJCAA, your question you may have is, what do I have to do to get to the NJCAA? It sounds good, it looks good. What do we have to do? First and foremost, all of our student athletes who participate with us are high school graduates or the equivalent. So you must complete high school, be successful in high school in order to advance to the next level. If we don't get through the high school graduation first, we will struggle at the next level. Be sure that you do that successfully. The more successful that you are, the more opportunities you will have at that next level. In addition to being a high school graduate, you must maintain your amateur status. Within the NJCAA, amateur status or maintaining your amateur status is a little bit different than what you may be experienced with or may be familiar with. Amateur status within the NJCAA, not just say that you're an amateur athlete, possibly participating with other professionals or on a professional team. Within the amateur requirements of the NJCAA, you must not participate on a professional or semi-professional team at any time after your 19th birthday. If you do participate on a professional team, even though you may be amateur and your amateur status was remained intact, you would have forfeited your amateur status and would not be eligible with us. So be sure that you're not competing on a professional team. It's very, very important. The fact that you just don't accept any compensation, nor do you qualify or declare as a pro, you still could possibly lose or forfeit your amateur status at the NJCAA level by participating on a professional team or a team which pays some or all of its member athletes. Next slide, please. International students, and I'm sure this will hit very, very close to home. Mr. Luckett pointed out the percentage of our student athletes that are international students, and I believe that was 9% of our current student or our average student athlete body. is international students. 10 years ago, if we looked back at our makeup of students, only 3% of our student athlete population were international students. So we're seeing a significant growth in the addition of international students, students like yourself who are looking to come to the United States and participate, take advantage of opportunities that we have here to not only get a quality education, but also to compete in intercollegiate athletics. Regardless if you're from Australia, if you're from China, or wherever you are from as an international student, coming to the US can be kind of overwhelming. So each member institution that we have is going to have their own specific requirements at their institution for international students. So as you start to pare down your possibilities and your options for participation, you want to be sure to communicate with the international student office at that member college and have those conversations about what it takes. Are you meeting the minimum standards? Are you doing all the right things? They will be there to guide you and to help you. From our standpoint at the National Junior College Athletic Association, the minimum that we require, as I stated on the other slide, was being a high school graduate. We use as a guide the NCAA's International Student Athlete Guide. If you go to the NCAA publications and type in International Student Athlete Guide, you will have access to a document that lists all the countries in the world. And it's going, once you clicked on a particular country in question, you are going to see what they consider the standard diploma and the standard number of years that equates to high school graduation within the United States. That is our resource, which we reference regularly within my division. Your counselor at the member institution you're looking at can assist you with this. Your counselor at your current institution can assist you with this. You can dive into this document on your own, but understand that that would be the standard that we are looking for as we move forward and as we prepare to have you on our campuses. Next slide, please. Recruiting, how do you get to the United States? Everything sounds interesting. I know some people, I have some friends that have taken this route in years previous to me. How can I get to the US and play at the college level? And the first answer is you have to be known. You have to get noticed. And how do you do that when you're down in Australia? You have to initiate the conversation. You know, some people will luck into opportunities and will get reached out to by recruiting coaches. But in many cases, it takes an international student to reach out to a member institution that they are interested in and get the conversation going. Using that link that Mr. Luckett referenced earlier, you can take the proactive approach and start to communicate with prospective colleges that have sparked your interest. You take the initiative and get those conversations started. As those member colleges start to find out more about you, there's going to be many cases where you might be a good fit. Understand there will be also some instances and cases where you won't be a good fit. And don't get discouraged when you do hear that message that it's possibly not going to work out for you, or we don't have a scholarship or a slot for you. Just go find another one that you're possibly interested in. Next slide, please. When we talk about the NJCAA and the various divisions, Division I, Division II, and Division III, we're talking about not so much the level of competition at which they play, but the level of support which they're permitted to offer. Many times that level of support also equates to a level of competition which they play, but not always. We have good teams at the Division III level, Division II level, and the Division I level. And many times those Division III teams, which some consider the lower level, can give the teams at the Division I level a good run for their money. Division I schools are permitted to provide tuition and course-related fees, cover room and board, cover course-related books, supplies up to $250 per course, and this one may be very important to you, is one-time transportation cost to and from the student athlete's home to campus and back. Division II schools can do the tuition and course-related fees, course-related books, the $250 course supplies, but they may not offer you room and board or transportation costs. Division III sports are not permitted to provide any athletic-related scholarship at all. So that is a quick overview of the various divisions. And you will see the Division I, Division II, and Division III programs scattered all over the United States. They're not all centrally located in one particular area. So as you start to look at institutions that offer your sport, offer your college course of study, also start to look at the division of the sport which they offer too. And that's going to tell you how much scholarship opportunities are available to you. Next slide, please. Once you pick your school or you decide what you're interested in, and you've communicated with the coach or the athletic director and they're interested in you, they're going to offer you possibly a letter of intent. A letter of intent is better known as a LOI in our business. And what the LOI is it's a contract between the member college and the student athlete. It commits the student athlete to the college as well as commits the college to the student athlete for a period of one academic term. On the letter of intent, it's going to cover all the details of any scholarship money that is being offered to you. As you read over, if you're a great athlete and very successful and have gotten out the message out about yourself and looked at numerous colleges, you may get multiple letter of intent offers. You're only permitted to sign one. So you would want to then have done your homework. You would want to know what your number one option is as far as a potential school to sign with. And once you look at that opportunity and you sign with that member college, you then become unrecruitable by all other NJCAA member colleges. Okay. So once you sign a letter of intent, your recruitment is over. You've now committed to that school and you cannot be recruitable by any other member college. Okay, that's very important that you understand what the letter of intent is and means and restricts you from doing as you progress through any potential other conversations with prospective colleges. Next slide, please. Amateur status, as I mentioned earlier, amateur status, you engage in the sport just for the fun and enjoyment of it. You're not looking to become a professional, become a wealthy, cash a paycheck. You are doing it to engage in sports. So with that, be sure that you understand any of the leagues that you're participating in. Any participation after your 19th birthday will forfeit or sacrifice your amateur status within our association. You may be eligible in other associations, but our association and the mandate for amateur status is very cut and dry. So be sure that you understand what's permissible. If you have questions, you can reach out to our office about potential leagues. We have a database of professional leagues within our NJCAA website. It's very important that you understand this, because just saying you weren't aware or did not know that they were professional is not going to work in your best interest. Next slide, please. With that, I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I appreciate the parents' opportunities to take the time out and sit with their daughter or son and listen to us. The NJCAA is a great opportunity for many people, and we hope that you look into our association, and hopefully we see you on one of our sports teams in the near future. I'd like to next introduce Kristen Schuth. Kristen is the Director of Athletics. She serves at a Division III school in New York State. And at this point, Kristen's going to give you some information and perspective from the institutional level. Kristen, it's all yours.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm Kristen Schuth, as Brian said. I'm the Director of Athletics at Genesee Community College in New York State. My background, I will give it to you just because Brian did as well. I've been in the NJCAA in some capacity since 2004. So Brian said that he's the old man here. Well, I'm only 10 years behind him. So my job today is just to give you some insight about what the international experience is on a college campus. We currently, actually, the history of our international population actually did not start with the athletic programs on our campus. It actually started with an MOU in 2001, 20 years ago, with a few schools in Japan. So our president at the time felt that it was very important for the diversity of the campus and what the international students could bring to our campus to sign those MOUs. Since then, we have had multiple other areas also sign them, which is the ABC Islands, which is Aruba, Belize, and Curacao. So we do have a very heavy international population for our campus. We have about 124 international students currently on a campus. 58 of them are athletes. So that's about half the international population that we bring to Genesee that do play within our sports teams. The first piece of it was, the overall culture and experience. So one of the big things we do, and I feel like this would be the case at any NJCAA school that you would select, is the ability to connect with people on campuses. So one of our main things is, and I only have one slide, so don't worry, I won't be changing slides. One of our big things is the connection that you'll make once you come to campus. If you go to an NCAA school, the bigger Division I's, Division II's, they're not going to know or have the smaller class sizes, the smaller feel of a campus. At the community college level, especially in New York State, where we are at a smaller community college, the students that come to our campus become part of our family. So we take care of them from start to finish. Talking a little bit about the onboarding process, on our campus, we do have an international office, as I think Brian mentioned earlier, and they take you from the beginning of the visa process, getting through, different embassies, all of that, and they carry you all the way through graduation. So it's really a start to finish feel, which again goes back to the connection that being from Australia, coming all the way over here, being on our campus, there's a tendency for a lot of our students that are international students to get homesick. So we want you to make sure that you have that connection with us so that you want to stay on our campus and feel like you're part of something special as you're here. Those international office, they help you with every step of the way. They will also help you register for classes. So on our campus, you really are seeing one person, as well as obviously your coaching staff and the rest of the athletic department. But as far as international documents, orientation, registering for classes, making sure that you have the correct number of in-person classes versus online or remote learning, that is all through our international office. And we collaborate closely with them as we work through the semester. The next thing on here is, the international student athlete experience and what makes it successful. You know, we love the diversity that it brings to our campus. And this semester, actually, I'll just shout out real quick what we're doing. We're actually running an international program every Thursday. So all of our international students that are on our campus are bringing a program, I would say program, but it's really an event to our campus that's from their culture. And I'll just give you an example. This Thursday, we have a burn supper, and it's a Scottish tradition, I guess, in their country, where you have haggis, turnips, potatoes, you know, wear kilts, you have Scottish, you know, dances and all these fun things. So we try to bring part of what you bring to us to our campus as well. So we try to implement that and make you feel like you want to be a part of this. So so it's a little bit about the experience. The other thing that I will point out is that in my role, I actually, my title isn't actually Director of Athletics. I actually am an AVP for Student Engagement and Inclusion. I oversee the Student Engagement Office too. So we actually have rolled a lot of the international pieces into the Student Engagement program across campus, which is huge. I think it's really helping out all of our students on our campus at this point. And our American students are learning just as much as our international students are at this point. Next is, you know, the long-term benefits of being short-term and long-term benefits of being an NJCAA student athlete is, you know, we already hit upon them. Brian already talked about the low cost, you know, the smaller class sizes, the ability to connect and network with people on campuses. Those are all just short-term. Long-term is the ability to transfer on and get a scholarship at the 4-year level. A lot of our student athletes in our different programs, you know, are transferring on and paying, you know, minimal, which again, they hit upon before, to be in the United States and get a 4-year degree. We also have, you know, different majors on our campus. We have a high elite fashion program. We have tourism, we have business, you know, all of which can be transferred back to, you know, your own country if you were to come here and take those courses. Another big thing for us is that, you know, we do offer on-campus housing as well. And I know this goes back a little bit to the student athlete experience instead of the you know, short and long-term benefits. But another short-term benefit, I think, of being a student athlete at the NJCAA is the ability to figure out what you want to do in your career. A lot of, you know, what we do at the junior college level is, you know, first and second year curriculum, which leads into, you know, you really get into the heat of your major, your 3rd and 4th year. So when you come to us and you start off and you're taking, you know, the basic courses that you need in your freshman year, you will have the ability to figure out what you want to do in your future. If you go to a 4-year school right off the bat, a lot of times you can't have that, I guess, mobility to change if you feel that you would like to. And so it does give you that baseline to be able to transfer to the next level and be able to, you know, change along the way and figure out what you want to do in your careers as you move forward. Another long-term, I guess, is that the NJCAA really serves as a stepping stone for the next level, you know, to get to the NCAA or NAIA level. But it also will give you a network of people here and a connection to the US, as well as a lot of individuals that will help you in the next steps of your career. So those are some basic outline, very vague as far as getting into the nitty gritty of what we actually do over here. But if, you know, that's pretty much it on my end, but I would love to answer questions. If you have specific sport related questions or anything campus related, then I would be happy to answer those as well. So I am going to go to the next slide, and I believe I have the opportunity to introduce our student panelist.
Yes, Freddie, please.
Okay, Freddie Myers, if you're ready to come on.
My name's Freddie. I'm a student athlete here at Tyler Junior College in Texas. And yeah, I'm on the men's soccer team. I got here around 7 weeks ago from Australia, so I'm obviously in the same position that you guys were. I first heard about the NJCAA through my agency back home. I did know about the NCAA, but I'd never heard of the NJCAA. So it was really good that I got to explore that avenue. I also learned about Tyler Junior College, which is where I am now, through that agency. They had some connections with the coaches here and got me placed here. I had a few offers from various different schools and was actually going to go into the NCAA, but due to a few issues with my transcripts, that sort of fell through. So, it turned out to be sort of a blessing. I got to explore this a bit more, and I ended up where I am now, which is absolutely awesome. I'm loving it. And so that's how I heard about all of this. I started exploring the school more, having a serious think about it, and decided that this is where I wanted to be to further my education and obviously my soccer. The opportunities that I've received so far from being a student athlete in the NJCAA, it's hard to kind of talk about that yet. As I said, I'm only 2 months in, but I've already been given the opportunity to play and train in an extremely professional environment day in, day out. And, not only is that bettering my sport, my soccer, definitely my education, and just I feel like it's developing me as a human being as well. Obviously, being away from home, it's not always easy, but, it sort of teaches you to be pretty mentally tough and just keep pushing through. But it's turned out to be a lot of fun. And no, I'm really enjoying it here. There's a lot to look forward to as well. Obviously, we've got the season, which we're in the middle of right now, and we'll be coming up to the national NJCAA National Championships in November. We're currently traveling really well. We're undefeated, and I think we'll be looking to make a really good shot at that national tournament. And I'm really excited to see what happens. Also, the opportunities after I finish my degree here at Tyler, after my 2 years are up, I'm hoping to move on to an NCAA school. And obviously this school here with Coach Clements and everyone, it's extremely prestigious, and they've just got countless amount of contacts, which is always good. And they really help push players like myself onto that next level. So I'm excited to see what comes of that and see if anything really good can come to fruition, but we shall see. Any advice that I would have for you guys coming into my situation, what I was going through? I would say get in early. Start the process early, just get onto it. And, obviously with everything going on in the world at the moment, like COVID, the process can be a little bit delayed. So for me, flights obviously were hard to come by. And not in that, my meeting at the US consulate in Melbourne got pushed back a couple of times just because obviously the crazy circumstances that we're all in. But apart from that, I just say get into it early, start looking at schools, start talking to schools. So you've got a lot of time to choose the right fit for you. I was sort of tossing up a lot of schools at the last minute, and it was all a bit stressful, and luckily Tyler came in with a good offer, and I sort of always wanted to go here once I started hearing about it. So I sort of took that up, but I got lucky. It could have gone a different way. So that would be my advice to you all. Start the process early and stay on top of it. Don't let it run away from you because it can get a bit overwhelming. And just if you're in school now, keep studying hard. All those results matters on your they all matter on your transcript and for your GPA. So just keep studying and get into it early so you can explore your options a bit more. That's all from me. I'll give you a quick little run through of our day-to-day life, what it's like here on campus for us. It's a really extremely professional environment. I wake up around 7:30 a.m. each day, and I've usually got a morning class. So I'll quickly go get some breakfast at the cafeteria and then head to my morning class, which usually finishes about 20 minutes before I have training. So it works out perfectly. So I go straight to the locker room from there and get ready for the session, which runs from about 10 a.m. to 11:45, 12-ish. And we do that like 6 days a week. So yeah, once I've finished training, we'll all go to lunch as a team, or we'll go get treatment and sort out any injuries that we've got, any taping that needs done, any icing. The facilities here are incredible. There's so much. We've got a personal support staff of like physios and everyone that can help you like that. So we've got it all here. We're very fortunate in that regard. And then after that, we'll treatment, we'll go get lunch and then head to our afternoon classes. They usually run for about an hour and 20 minutes. So we'll go there, get that done, and then head back to the dorm and get any more homework done that we've didn't do the day before probably.
Mhm.
And we'll sort all that out, get all that done, and then head over to dinner as a team. And just hang out together, and always lots of bonding done off the field. It just makes us a more cohesive unit when we play. So we like to spend a lot of time together, get to know each other. And then after dinner, I'm sure we'll all hang out together in the dorms, study, finish any homework that needs doing, and just get ready for the next day where we do it all over again. We play 2 games a week here, which is unlike the seasons back home. I'm sure anyone that plays soccer in the group will know that the seasons are around 8 to 9 months long back home. Here, they're only 3 months, but the games are in quick succession of one another. We play like 2 games a week, sometimes more. And then we've obviously got the national championships at the end of the year. But that's pretty much student life on campus. It's really nice, pretty chilled out, lots of room for growth and, to establish yourself. And it's really good environment to better yourself, both in the athletics and in your education. So I highly suggest it to anyone that wants to pursue a career in their sport or just further their education, because as we know now, this is a legitimate pathway to either becoming a professional in that sport or finding your dream possession outside the field of athletics. So I highly recommend it to anyone that's interested.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Freddie.
No worries.
All right. We're going to stop the presentation and bring all the panelists back and open it into a Q&A. So are there any questions that people have? There's a couple coming through the Q&A. So I'm going to start with one before I'm going to start with one before I kick it over. I work for Education USA. For people that don't clearly know who we are a free unbiased service. We work for the US government. We're located at US consulates or embassies or at universities around the world. We represent all US colleges, community colleges, NCAA colleges, NAIA colleges, and we support the process for all the students and the families. So there's a question by Sienna in regards to should I use an agent in regards to being recruited as a student athlete. You certainly can do that, and that's certainly one option that you have. But we work for the US government. It's a free service. You can get to US colleges, any of them, on your own. You do need to be organized and structured. And I'm going to hand it over to the panel, and I might have Kristen start, is that what families don't realize is that International Admissions Office and admission officers and US college coaches, but particularly the admission officers, are there for international students and their families. So you can be asking any questions to them to help define that best fit at that campus. So I'm going to have Kristen kick it off. And then I'm going to talk to and throw it over to the both Brians and talk about how you build that relationship with coaches. So Kristen, if you can start, that would be great.
Absolutely. So at any point, you can reach out to any of our international advisors on any of our campuses, and those people will respond. And most of the time they are connected in some way, shape, or form to the admissions office. So they will be able to help you again from the time that you reach out to them till the time that you're leaving our campus. I will also say that, you know, we're all here. Obviously, it's this day and age, everything's on a website, right? So all you have to do is look up the coaching staff at the individual institutions that you want to try to reach out to. And I would guarantee that you'll get definitely a response back from them. Recruitment is everyone's job right now on campuses. So, and we're willing to help international students across the board, regardless of where you're from. Again, it does depend on skill level to whether or not you would be able to come to, you know, Genesee, which is a D3 institution, or Tyler, where Freddie is. You know, it's going to depend on skill level, and the coaches are going to look at your highlight videos and things like that to basically gear you in the right direction. I know that if I got a film from an athlete that, you know, may not be able to play at Genesee, because we do have some Division III nationally ranked programs, then maybe we would kick them to our sidekick over at, you know, in Canandaigua, New York, that might be able to take them from us. So definitely start to reach out, start to send emails. But again, all those people at the junior college level, the ones that I know, and I've been in the junior college for a long time, are willing to help and help you move through all that process.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. That's fantastic. So I'm going to probably kick this question over to Brian Beck to start off. When we're talking to families in Australia, we're often saying that it's really important that you contribute some form of the cost to a US college. And that's no different than a community college as well. But everyone is on the hunt of a scholarship, Brian. Can you talk about you know, evaluating the scholarships? And I know it's the coaches that make the call, but Mr. Brian Beck, if you can explain a little bit about scholarships, that would be great.
Very important. You're going to get promises made by coaches. You're going to get offers thrown at you verbally. Be sure that it's an offer that is substantial, that it's official. Don't take a person's word of mouth, so to speak. It's very important that you find an institution that fits you. There's multiple schools out there that will vie for your services. And if you're not careful and you choose poorly, you may find yourself in a situation that you're not the happiest at. So as Freddie mentioned a couple of times, he was very happy with his selection of Tyler Junior College, and it works very well for him. You know, that's the position you want to be in, that you are finding that member college that fits you. And that's going to be a different match for everyone out there. So that's very, very important.
And
Samantha, can I jump in here real quick? Because there is a second piece that I want to just point out for everybody.
Please
do. Brian showed a slide earlier that was the levels and who had the ability to offer what. You know, Division I offers full books, full fees, full everything. D2 is in the middle, and then there's D3. I will point out for all of you that are on this call that there are foundations on college campuses that offer scholarships. So I am a Division III institution primarily, and we don't offer athletic aid, but my foundation offers scholarships for all sorts of things. And one of, you know, they might offer an international scholarship based on major. So if you're a fashion major and you want to come to Genesee, you can apply and get these different foundation scholarships. So even though you say it's a Division III institution and we're not allowed to give athletic aid, that's not to say that the individuals that are watching this presentation couldn't earn a scholarship from our institution, if that makes sense. So there are other opportunities. And again, reach out to those coaches, because those coaches are the ones that have those opportunities at their fingertips that can say, hey, you can come play for me, and here's some opportunities. I can't promise anything because it's not in our hands, it's in our foundation's hands. But there is that avenue as well, just to point out for everybody.
And what's really important to know is that you can always scholarship bank. You could get partly an academic or a merit or doing a fashion degree scholarship and your athletic scholarship as well. And if a coach doesn't have to pull out of their bucket and can give you an academic scholarship, then you become a lot more recruitable. So that's why the academics are really important. You know, that's what Freddie shared as well. And that's why it's important to find your fit. But, you know, if you don't have a great academic year in year 9 and year 10 and you're late to this, just keep on going hard with your academic and getting your high school degree. It doesn't mean you can have poor grades and get to these great colleges. You still need to be a really good student, because ideally coaches all need their players to graduate. And, you know, that's what it all hinges on as well. But great questions and great follow-up. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go back. There's a couple of questions about life on campus. You know, some students here might be saying, I'm going to go to a community college and I'm going to be guaranteed being recruited at an NCAA or an NAIA institution at a 4-year. That's never going to be a guarantee. It all depends on both your academic talent and your athletic talent. But I think it's really important to respond to Amelia's question. Does the 2 years of study at an NJCAA transfer credit for your 4 years? So we know it does transfer, but I might throw this back to Kristen and give her a chance to also talk about a word that you may find when you start researching this called articulation programs, and that 2-year community colleges are often linked to 4-year schools as well. So Kristen, if you can do that, that would be great. And then there's a couple more questions that we're going to address, and then we'll be closing the session close to on time. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Yep. So we basically, you can transfer, you can take your first 2 years with us, earn an associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree. So I think people sometimes don't understand the difference between a bachelor's degree and an associate's degree. So you would graduate from us, you'd actually have a 2-year degree, which actually some programs do go workforce based, where you can just go right out in the workforce, or you can then proceed on to your next institution. Those credits will then be evaluated at your next school. So all the credits that you take at Genesee Community College, if you wanted to then transfer to Harvard or wherever you plan to go, they would just evaluate your transcripts, and then they would see which ones are transferring into that institution. A lot of our majors do transfer over. I don't know if Brian, you wanted to chime in with the articulation stuff or anything on your end for eligibility purposes, but so if you're a freshman and sophomore with us, I would say it like this: you take, regardless of where you are, you take 100, 200, 300, and 400 level courses. So if you're taking the 100 and 200 at a junior college, you're then transferring and trying to be at the 300 and 400 level at the 4-year school, if that makes sense, if that's easier way to think about it. So regardless of where you take those courses, you're still earning the credit towards your bachelor's at the end of the day. Does that help?
I'll actually chime in here real quick too. So I myself, I'm actually a community college graduate and then transferred to a 4-year school and finished. So in terms of looking at your credits and what Kristen was talking about, it all depends on what you want to do. It may be that you want to go 2 years and then enter the workforce. You may find one of the things that's really popular at 2-year colleges is a nursing program where you can go and actually then go into the workforce after that. Myself, what is also another common theme is a program called General Studies, and you can actually get your associate's degree and take general studies. Well, what does that mean? It means I'm taking all of those courses that are the basic gen eds that transfer to a 4-year institution. It's the same classes you actually would take at a 4-year institution, but guess what? I just paid less than half the cost, or maybe even had a scholarship. I wasn't good enough athletically, but I did that same exact thing. I took my gen eds, I received an associate's degree, and then transferred. And what Samantha was talking about in terms of articulation agreements is that some places in the United States, sometimes it's based on the state that you go to, whether it's Texas or Florida, Virginia, Tennessee, whatever it may be, or even some college institutions. This 2-year college and this 4-year institution sometimes have articulation agreements. And they say that if you take these courses and you receive this grade in them, athletics aside, not even talking about athletics, you can automatically have admission into that 4-year and transfer. So those are some of the articulation agreements that are in the United States that Samantha was referring to. So again, it's all based on what you want to be able to do, what program you're interested in. But there are a lot of opportunities. Your credits would transfer. You always have to look to see, well, what program are you doing at the 2-year college? Which classes are you taking? And if they transfer. But if you're either focusing on gen eds, again, like I did, or you're looking at a specific program, they will transfer then to a 4-year institution and go towards your bachelor's degree that Kristen was talking about.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Brian. We're going to move through the 2 final questions, and I'm going to bring Freddie into this question a little bit. So this is a question from Sienna. Right now, everyone in this room knows that we're dealing with a COVID world. And I think that's interesting because my perspective, and I'll be interested to hear from the panel, is that I actually think it helps international students drastically. Because what happens is that coaches in the US traditionally have not been able to see so many people play live. There has been less competition. And what that means to me and to everyone in this room tonight is that it's actually the steps of what they are doing to recruit an international student. Often they're not seeing you play live competition. So when you develop your sports resume and your footage, it's really important to share that with coaches. We run programs at the Education USA about how you put those together. Okay, so Sienna's question is, how do I start the recruitment process if I don't have a full recruitment video because of COVID counseling my sport? I'm going to start with a response, and then Freddie, I'm going to love you to come on board and talk as well. And then the rest of the panel is that your current relationship with your coach in your sport in Australia becomes really important. A coach can write a reference for you about why you'd be so good at being recruited and being added to those teams. And a coach can talk to a coach in regards to identifying where your talent lies if there's not enough footage because of COVID practice. So Freddie, I want you to come on screen, because what we talk about when you are talking with coaches, it is really like a dating relationship. Okay, you're going to go out for the first meeting and you might have coffee, and that is you introducing yourself to the coaches. You are then going to continue to have a dialogue with these coaches, and you're going to work out if you like them, and they're going to work out if they like you. So you may get past the coffee meeting and have a lunch meeting. And eventually what you want is the dessert when they give you a national letter of intent or a scholarship to be recruited on their team. So Freddie, I know you had an agent helping you, and I don't really want to talk about that part of the process, but talk to us about you communicating with the coaches. And I think as an athlete, you have a bit of a gut instinct that you've arrived at the point and found your best fit college. So can you talk a little bit about that process, please?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as I said before, I was talking to a couple schools, and obviously that was like FaceTimes, because FaceTime, Zoom calls, just phone calls, and just trying to get as much information as I could out of each and every one of them so I could make my most informed decision. And I was talking to a few other schools, and it just didn't quite click. As you mentioned, Samantha, sometimes you just have a gut feeling. And then I got a call from the assistant coach here at Tyler. And I just had a conversation with him. His name's Sean Stocker, an English guy. We just got along really well. And just the way he was speaking, about the game and about the style of play that they have here. It just reminded me of a few previous coaches that I had before, and that I'd really enjoyed it. And I don't know, something just felt right about it. So I decided that this was the place that I needed to be to better myself, both academically and on the field. But yeah, obviously with the whole COVID thing and not being able to play sport, back home in Australia, it can be tough to get that footage together. But yeah, start with letters of recommendation, maybe have old footage, because I was a bit the same. I was injured for a while, so I didn't actually have footage directly leading up, but I was lucky enough to have, footage from maybe the season before that. And yeah, just a lot of phone calls. I built myself I called it my soccer CV, with my, like, where I'd played, all my accolades, previous coaches, so references, and I wrote all that contact information down, and then with the link to my highlight video. So yeah, I was just sending that off to schools, and yeah, getting responses by doing that. But yeah, if you don't have access to recent footage, do what Samantha said and get someone that you trust and someone that knows what you're like when you play, and knows how good you are, and let them have an honest conversation with recruiting coaches and stuff like that. That'll really help you out. Yeah.
Fantastic, Freddie. Does anyone from the panel want to add something to that?
The only thing I would add too is that, and would love to hear Kristen too, from just her role as an athletic director as well. Quite a few American coaches, I've known some others that were going through the recruiting process as a high school student and not having some of those opportunities because their seasons were canceled or things in COVID. And I heard a lot of coaches say, hey, just take your phone, go in the backyard or go to your gym or your basketball goal, whatever it may be, and run through some drills and get those on video and then send them. Coaches just need something to be able to evaluate. And while it may not be live game footage, or you may have not as much of that, they're still going to be able to see what type of an athlete you are, just based on having some type of video of you doing drills. You know, whatever sport that may be, your basketball, you can show them, you know, some shooting drills. You can show them how you do in terms of rebounding. What's your footwork like, you know, going through some drills, or, you know, same thing with soccer and being able to demonstrate some of those things. So everybody's going through the pandemic. I think that's the one thing across the world to realize, is that coaches realize that students are in really unprecedented times. And for a coach, it's, I need to see something. And a lot of times what you can do is go into the backyard, go to your local gym, you know, whatever it may be, socially distant, of course, when able to, but find any type of way that you can to just record yourself going through drills in some of your sport, and that will actually still go a longer way rather than not having anything. But Chris, I don't know if anything you have to add. Maybe your coach.
You said it perfectly. I would have said the exact same thing, honestly, is, you know, it's skill development, right? So they have to see your skill. And so in any way, shape, or form that can be done, it's not necessarily only in game footage. It can be exactly what Brian said, in the backyard, or, you know, even with your mom or dad or grandpa or whoever videotaping you. They can really, a lot of our coaching staff looks at the ways you do things, and they can evaluate your skill level from that.
That's fantastic. And what you need to show to your coaches is that you're being resourceful. What are you doing outside the box to show yourself in this weird world we live in? You know, you need to work hard for a scholarship if you want it. No one's going to give you a scholarship for being a cool Aussie with a great accent and a good sense of humor. Okay, it might help. Okay, but you've really got to work towards that as well. There's some great questions coming in. I'm going to have one that closes. There are some really good search tools in the marketplace. One of them is the College Bird search tool. Brandon, you used to be able to search for community colleges and search for residential life for having housing on campus. And there's about 1,132 community colleges. And the reason I know that is that we did a program last week. And if you haven't seen that program, you can watch that on our YouTube. And there's only about 40% of community colleges that has a living on campus. So as an international student and an international family, you could certainly help your short list of programs by actually having community colleges on your list that have housing on campus. And I would use that as a first search tool. That doesn't mean that other community colleges don't have housing available to international students, but it becomes a really easy search tool. And I would be certainly using that as well. In regards to living on campus and through the summer programs, I don't know this answer, so I'd love you to finish it off in closing, Kristen. And when Kristen finishes, if all the panelists can have ending comments, that would be great, and we'll close tonight's session. That if I do stay on campus during the summer times, can I do classes in the summertime like is available at four-year institutions?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So when I talked about the Japanese population that we had on our campus to start with, they actually come as a summer cohort. They actually get here at the beginning of the summer. They stay all summer long. They take 6 credits in each of our sessions. They end up with 12 credits by the time they're done. So if any one of you wanted to come live in the dorms and then take credits during the summer, they could take one in each summer session. So they could end up with 6 credits. They could take a full class load if that's what they wanted to do. And there's, you know, the dorms is right down the hill from our institution. One thing I will point out for those of you that are looking at this is that during the pandemic, there's been some challenges for junior colleges across the country. And I would make sure that you check with the institution if they still have housing. I do know that some of the housing in our area in New York State, some of the colleges that may be listed as they previously had housing prior to COVID may no longer own their dorms or have housing on their campuses. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at those schools, just make sure to confirm that they do have those dorm options for you as well.
Fantastic. I'm just going to give all the panelists some closing moments before I move into a couple of ending points. So Mr. Brian Luckett, if you want to kick it off.
Sure. Well, thank you all for the opportunity and for your interest in looking at the NJCAA. And again, as we said before, and it's on the background behind myself and Mr. Beck, but opportunities start here, like we mentioned. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, and that applies to international students as well. We've had a lot of just, Freddie's example as well, but a lot of student athletes that come over, and it may be the best opportunity for you, whether it's from a cost perspective. Maybe it's that for you to be able to come to the United States and have an easier opportunity to be seen by coaches at four-year institutions, whatever it may be. Opportunities start here with the NJCAA. We'd love for you all to be able to look at those opportunities and join this association. So, Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Brian. I would just like to say that as we all know, we live in a global community. The world, where as vast as it is, and the millions and millions of people that we have out there, it takes connections to find the right place for you. It takes connections, as Freddie mentioned earlier, to find the right school and the right fit. Let those people know in your life that you have aspirations to go to the States and play soccer at a college. You never know who you're going to cross paths with. You're never going to know who hears your story and knows someone who can possibly connect you to the right people. So connections are very important in the recruiting game. Reach out to those schools, look online, search the internet and find a school that you'd love to attend, and reach out to the coach. There's many thousands, millions of people that are looking just as you are to find their home to compete. In order to get that edge, you be the first one in line, and there's lots of resources out there that can assist you with that process. And Education USA is a great source to start with. If you.
I just lost the screen, so sorry for those sounds on the microphone. And Freddie, we just want to bring you up to close it. If there's families listening to us today, it does take a lot of bravery from your sons and daughters, and also from a parent to let them go. So it's also, as a parent, you want your students and your sons and daughters to reach for the skies. You've given them wings now, so let them fly. But Freddie, congratulations for you. You live in Albury-Wodonga. If you had have moved to Melbourne, you would have been 3 or 4 hours away from home. So what's a couple more hours with a great opportunity to be a college student athlete? You can't do this in Australia. You'd be doing it very independently. So Freddie, thanks for joining us. I know the families and the students wanted to hear from an Australian. So if you can close the session, that would be fantastic. On behalf of Education USA, thank you everyone for being here today. As I said, this session will be recorded and uploaded shortly to our YouTube channel. We will send everyone that registered an after event email with some flyers that the team at the NJCAA have put together for us. On behalf of Education USA and the US Embassy and the Consulate, a particular thanks to the whole NJCAA team, the people in the background, thank you so much. Mr. Brian Luckett, Mr. Brian Beck, thank you so much. To Christian Schuth from a US college perspective, thank you for your insight. I know it's been incredibly rewarding in how people can identify best fits for their campuses. And again, I encourage you to stay up to date with our Facebook page of all the events that will be scheduled in the next couple of weeks and months. Again, if you haven't really used our resources, in your preferred search engine, put Education USA Australia. It will connect you to our Facebook. It will connect you to our YouTube channel. It will connect you to our website. Again, reach out to the offices in Melbourne, Sydney, Perth. Thanks for joining us today. Do enjoy your school holidays. And Freddie, if you can have the last comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Samantha, and everyone. It's been really good to talk to you all. But yeah, I would second what Samantha said there. If you have the opportunity to do this, take it while you can. You will not regret it. And yeah, it can be daunting. And I get it's a long way from home. I've been lucky enough to live away in a foreign country before by myself. So I was sort of used to it. But if it is your first time, yeah, don't stress. It's super chill. Everyone's super nice. And you've got a constant support network, whether that's your coaches, teachers, friends, teammates. There's so many people around you that are always there to help and push you along. But yeah, take this opportunity while you have it, because there's no other country really in the world where you can play sport at such a high level whilst also pursuing and furthering your education. So jump at the opportunity, and yeah, it's so much fun. You're all going to love it. So yeah, best of luck with all of your future endeavors regarding college. I'm sure you'll all find a school that works for you and makes you feel good, which is all you can really ask for. So yeah, best of luck with the search for that. And yeah, I'm sure you'll all do great. So yeah, thank you for having me and listening to my thoughts today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Freddie. Thanks, everyone.
No worries.
And have a great day and enjoy the rest of your school holidays.